Hi, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to Cosi Talks. We are alone in the Cosi Talks studio. I'm just like, I don't have anybody to introduce tonight. It's just us this evening, which is kind of nice. It's always nice to take a little bit of a break and just get back to doing what I love doing, which is answering your questions about recovery from limb loss. So I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes to jump on board. In the meantime, I am hitting the hard stuff tonight with my Diet Coke. Yeah, it's been one of those days. All right, guys, cheers. And let's see who comes on board this evening. All right, that's good stuff. All right, for those of you watching the replay, please put replay into the comments section. I do like to go back, see who was watching, and I also like to pick up any questions that you might have if you are watching the replay. So feel free to put those into the comments section. Who's here this evening? We got Alex. Alex, it was so good seeing you guys last night. Really enjoyed speaking with your group. So thank you again for that opportunity and thank you for the support. Really appreciate that. All right. Who else I got on board? I know I got other people hopping on board here. The numbers are kind of climbing pretty quickly today. Hey, Patrick, what's going on, man? There's my fellow PT up in New York. I do want to give a shout out this month. It's lots of stuff going on this month. We've got Mobility Month, Mental Health Awareness Month, Occupational Therapy Month. It's a party. Jackie, prima. Oh my goodness, it's so nice to see you. Gracias por venir, prima. Un cariño fuerte. All right, we got Benny on board watching me from the YouTube channel. We got Tom from Canada watching. We got Susan on board as well. Guys, just so you know, I am broadcasting also to my YouTube channel. I know some folks have eschewed social media in general and they'd prefer to watch from YouTube, so you can find me there as well. You need the croissant recipe. I know, right? Patrick, no joke. It takes, if you're really tight, it takes 2 days to make those croissants. And let me tell you, they were worth every single minute, guys. I don't know if you saw my post from yesterday. I love to cook. It's one of the things that I just love to do. I love having my friends over for cooking and cooking for them. So I did some baking. Actually, it wasn't cooking, it was baking. And I made homemade French, like true authentic French croissants, like the kind that you have to say it properly, not just say croissants. So yes, 2-day process, but let me tell you, totally worth it. Everybody left the house needing their stretchy pants. So it was a good day. We got Jim on board from Illinois, side of St. Louis. We got Rhonda from Missouri. We got Steven from Jacksonville, Florida. We got Johnny V from Poughkeepsie, New York. Hey guys, hello, Hugh. Thank you for joining us this evening. I know. And I got to tell you, Patrick, they tasted even more amazing. So one of my friends who went to France, she said that they tasted just as good as the ones that she had there. So that was my little moment right there. Hey, Phil, I've got your question from Swift Current, Saskatchewan, on the road with my coffee. All right. 2 hands on the wheel, Phil, but we're going to be answering your question as well later on this evening. So guys, we've had a busy, year. I feel like I'm just now starting to take a breath from the beginning of the year. We got Donald from Long Island. Rhonda, you've got Coke in your glass. Cheers. Diet Coke in mine. Needed it today. All right, guys. So for those of you watching me for the first time, well, I've got this crazy hair right here. This one doesn't want to stay put. Welcome aboard. My name is Cosi Talks. I'm a physical therapist, amputee specialist here in Tampa, Florida. I've been a PT now for over 19 years. I have a private practice here, Palanca. That is exclusively for working with the amputee and limb loss community. I have a fitness program that, guys, I'm going to be telling you about a little special. I've never run a special on my program since its launch in November. So this is going to be the first special, and you guys are the first ones that are going to be hearing about it a little bit later on this evening. We've got Lena on board. That's my girl right there. That's my other physical therapist girl. We got Harsh Bill from Wisconsin. All right, guys. So this evening, we're doing questions, and I'm a happy therapist because y'all sent me a lot of questions these past 2 weeks, and I love it when you send me questions. For those of you who are wondering what I'm talking about, please send me your questions, and you can send them directly to my email right here. It's pretty easy, cosi@cositalks.com. So guys, any questions, especially those of you who are just starting out on your journey to through limb loss, some of you who are perhaps facing an amputation. I've had a couple phone calls today from folks who they themselves or their family members are, staring down at having a future amputation, and lots of questions with that. Feel free to send it to my email. I will answer all questions, whether on the show or through the email itself. Hey, Scott, Left BK from Charleston, West Virginia. Wonderful. All right, guys, so let's start with the first question. Ooh, this was a good one. This one came to me from a physical therapist. And guys, those of you who are clinicians on board, I love having clinicians on board. I love working with you guys. Please send me your questions. I know I had amazing mentors back when I first started that taught me everything I knew about amputee, and it's a pleasure to try to give back in that regard to fellow clinicians. What's up, compadre? Hey, man. All right. So Yolanda asked, I'm a physical therapist, and occasionally I work with amputees without and with prosthetic devices. In your experience, is it ambulate a patient with standard walker or a rolling walker? Okay, so quick difference on the two. There's my OT, guys. Give Andrea a shout out. It is Occupational Therapy Month in May. So we want to give a shout out to the peanut butter to my jelly sandwich in rehab world, our occupational therapist right there. So guys, with a standard walker, it's the walker that has the 4 legs on it. There's no wheels whatsoever. Rolling walkers are exactly that. They have wheels on them, and they can either have 2 wheels or 4 wheels, depending on, what kind of a walker you're using. So there's always a really great debate among physical therapists as to which one's the safer one to use, because theoretically, right, if you're using a rolling walker with wheels on it, right, it's got a potential to skid out in front of the person, right? So it's, technically a little less safe, okay? But here's my argument after, 19 plus years of practice, and you'll see that other PTs also have a similar opinion. If you have someone who's using a standard walker, it means they have to lift the walker, place it, take a step. Lift the walker, place it, take a step. And I have seen on plenty of occasions where in the lifting process, the person's balance was so poor that is what made them lose their balance, okay? Not to mention that when you're trying to do, last month, I'm sorry, Andrea. Foot in my mouth, which would make it very appropriate for speech therapy month now. But I'm ching. Sorry. Okay, so guys, when you're also training with a standard walker, okay, and you're trying to work with someone with a prosthetic device and you want them to engage a more fluid gait pattern, meaning walking without stopping, that standard walker is going to hamper you just a little bit, okay? So for me, it really just depends on the patient. If I find that the safest option, that's what I go for. Some patients, the safer option is the rolling walker. Some patients, the safer option is the standard walker. Okay. So when I send them home, I'm going to send them home with the safest option. And guys, this is something I do get on my soapbox just a little bit. The physical therapist is the one who should be assigning your ambulatory device, whether it's a cane, a quad cane, a hemi walker, loft strand crutches, rolling walker, whatever you want to call it. It should be the physical therapist, not the doctor, not the prosthetist. No offense to my fellow my prosthetists out there. Okay. But it is something that is prescribed by the physical therapist. The doctor might technically write the order, but it technically needs to come from us. And the reason why I'm kind of going on a soapbox about that is because many times my patients will come to my clinic, they've been issued an ambulatory device, and because their insurance already paid for it, their insurance won't repay for a better one that I think is more appropriate for them. So that's just that little tidbit right there. Team rolling, Andrew's like team rolling walker. I know, right? It's funny. Like all the younger PTs, like they get out of school and they're just like standard walker. It's the safest option. And then all like us old farts, we're just like, no, rolling walker, get them moving, get them going, get them more fluid, right? So again, guys, it depends on safety. Whatever keeps the person safe and moving. And then eventually you can progress them to a higher end device later on. What's up, Clarence? Thank you for joining us this evening. You can't see me on Facebook, Brett. I don't know. I think everybody else is able to see me. Y'all watching me on Facebook, can y'all give me a thumbs up if you can see me? We got Teresa on board. Hola, she's watching from New Mexico. We've got Bonnie on board. We got, what about the rollators with the seat? Okay, so Scott, that's a good one. And this is one I ran into all the time with my home health situation. I call them like the Sunday walkers. Right. It's the, my little old ladies like to go out for the Sunday walk and they like to have their seat down. My grandmother swore by hers and there was no way to get her out of that. My only beef with the rollator walkers is because you have that little bench seat there, the person cannot get all the way into the walker. And that's where you get the stability. Right. So you see these people, I see it all the time and it drives me bonkers at the grocery store. Right. And they've got their rollator walkers and they're walking like this because they can't fit into their walker. And then it's that triangle shape, right? So again, they can't get into the walker. It drives me nuts. But I saw my grandmother for years and she was just this fiercely stubborn, independent woman. Maybe now I know where I get it from. And she managed in her household and she learned how to use it safely. And for her, because she lived by herself until she passed away in the ripe old age of 92, she would put things on the seat of the walker and she would allow her to move things around the house. So I've learned to kind of loosen up a little bit on the rollator walker. If the person can demonstrate to me that they are being safe with it and that it is in fact providing them stability, then okay. But yeah, I can't say I'm a huge fan. Can't say. Even my OT there is saying, she's like, ouch, no rollator for non-prosthetic folks. It's just one of those things, honestly. If you're using a walker, it's because you need that stability when you're walking. So use the device that's going to give you the most stability and in the end, the most mobility. That sounds like a slogan in the making, right? All right, let's see. Scott says, makes sense. I've never used a rollator primarily due to my height of 6 feet 8 inches. Ooh, yeah, you are a tall drink of water there, Scott. All right. Susan says, I use my seat to use it to transport things. Right. And, I see the benefit. Or, for example, some of my older folks that they like to go for their walks and the seat, they can sit down and not get too tired for it. So, like I said, I've learned to loosen up just a little bit with that, over the years, but not my first choice. Let's see. Patrick says most falls occur sit to stand and breaks stink. So false sense of security. Absolutely correct. Increased risk for falls, for pulmonary population outside to rest and reset. Wouldn't use roller for limb loss. And that's true. It's now that you mention it, Patrick, the majority of my patients that would use the rollator where I thought, okay, maybe it's appropriate it was usually my pulmonary patients, my COPD patients, my CHF, cardiac, congestive heart failure patients who had very, very poor endurance. So, their balance wasn't so much the issue, it was just their endurance and they needed that extra support. So for them, this kind of a walker was functional. But yeah, you're right. The brakes don't work, right? They don't work at all. People pop on the brakes on the walker and then they'll lean on it and the walker goes skidding out. So yeah, not to be used as a wheelchair. Definitely not. No. And when my girls were little, Patrick, you're going to love this one. When my girls were like 2 years old, it was kind of cute. Like my grandmother wasn't able to pick them up, but she would let them climb onto there and she'd give them rides around the house. And yeah, so, anyways. All right. Moving on to the next question. We've got, this is a good one. I always love putting this question out there because I love hearing your responses. So guys, I want to hear your responses to this one. This lady, her husband recently became a double amputee. She mentioned that they were going to be going to their first family events. And there's going to be lots of small children in the family, right? So she was asking, this might obviously be a very traumatic experience for them to see how to handle this, and then also things like going to the grocery store in the wheelchair and, the kids are staring, the parents are telling them, stop staring, how do you handle this? So guys, I want to hear your comments on this, because I always enjoy hearing what you guys have to say. For me with my own kids, I've taught them since they were little. They've been coming with me to my clinic. So my kids are very comfortable around people who wear prosthetic devices. They're very comfortable with people in wheelchairs. They have no problems with that. If anything, sometimes I have to remind them that, stranger danger and all that. But anyways, so, the best way I've seen is just to be open about it. There's been times where my kids were watching and they said, Mom, there's a person with a prosthetic device. And I go, okay, that's fine. And if they have a cool prosthetic cover and you want to compliment them on their cover, then just go up and say, hey, I really like the color of your prosthesis. Or, hey, do you mind if I ask what kind of a prosthesis you're wearing? I find that kids can be a wonderful icebreaker in that regard. And then just telling parents, because sometimes parents, they don't want their children to be perceived as rude, and just saying, directly addressing the parent, it's okay. If they want to ask me a question, I'm okay with it. So for the most part, I feel like kids can be just that wonderful icebreaker to start the conversations. Okay, let's see. I know some of these comments are going to be good. Marianne, all right, you're here, Marianne. Good. We got Mervyn from Northern Ireland. Welcome. Let's see. Denise, that's all right. You didn't miss much. All right. Brett says, telling them that lying makes your legs fall off. Seriously, Brett. Seriously, it's the nose. Your nose gets bigger when you lie. Your legs don't fall off. We got Susan. Susan says, I usually ignore it unless they come up and ask, and then I will happily answer any questions. Chris says, I honestly embrace the madness. I get kids asking if I'm a robot to others getting freaked out and running away. Yeah, it's a little. I remember the first time my youngest, and I think I've mentioned this on the show before, when my youngest saw a prosthesis for the first time. It's actually somebody that we know. And he had seen her before, but he hadn't, because she wears long skirts, he hadn't seen her prosthesis. So he saw her and she was wearing some shorts, and he must have been 2 or 3 years old. I mean, he was little. And the look on his face was just shock and compassion, actually, because he was just like, oh, she's got an ouchie. Like that was his, reaction. And I had to, calm him down and just say, no, this is what happened to her. Her foot was sick and she had a surgery, and now she has this really cool leg to help her walk. But, it's one of those things where when you see it through a child's eyes and you go, wow, this is very traumatic for them to see. And then also as adults. So the more I think you talk to the kids about it and about how it happens and the reality of it, I think they're able to process that even better. Let's see. Scott says, I try to talk to people who are curious. Liz says, kids are the best. They ask you a question, you answer, and they're fine with you. I know. It's kids are wonderful in that regard. In lots of regards. Everyone loves my West Virginia Mountaineers cover. Chris says, if it's friends, I tell their kids I lost my legs because I didn't eat my vegetables. You guys kill me, man. Hey, Barbara. Let's see. Andrea says, Amputee Coalition suggests developing an elevator speech, short and sweet. You also have the right to not want to talk about it. Their advocacy website has some good info. And this is actually true. This is a very good point to make, because sometimes when we're faced in these situations, right, and we're sitting there going, how do I phrase it? How do I handle this, right? And I tell this to my kids all the time. When you think of difficult situations, it's always good to kind of practice ahead of time what it is that you think you're going to say. And this is both for the days that you feel open and friendly and willing to talk about it, and days that you just don't, and you just would like to be left alone and you would like to just go about your business. So the elevator speech, I think, is a fantastic idea. Susan says, children always come up to me and ask what happened. I say, my leg just got sick, so I got a new one. Short and sweet. David says, my 3 grandkids are always curious about my residual limb and the prosthetic device. The questions they ask are so funny, and I honestly tell them they are smarter than we think. And after I tell them, they move on, and it gives a great understanding. And the parents, here's the thing, the parents are listening in too, and they're learning too. Phil says, when kids do ask, tell them straight and be truthful. I agree. So there was one question here I missed about the mobility, moving back to the mobility. Sorry, I want to make sure I didn't miss that question. Kelly asks, what is my view on forearm crutches? I think they're a fantastic tool. In terms of stability, right, compared to the walker is going to give you the most stability and the least mobility, right? Something like crutches, right? They give you a little bit more mobility, but a little less stability, right? So the most stable being the walker, then the crutches, then the cane, and then walking with nothing, right? So as the person improves with their stability and their balance, obviously you want to be able to give them more freedom with their mobility. So when I have somebody, my forearm crutches, like my classic example of someone who uses forearm crutches is someone who's a bilateral amputee. It's a wonderful set of tools that they can use to really get around in the community in a safe way. And in my opinion, also as a bilateral amputee, especially, it kind of cues people in the community. Like when they see the 2 loft strand crutches, it's very easily visible, and people will tend to give you a little bit of a wider berth, which you need that when you're walking with 2 above the knee prosthetic devices, right? And again, more mobility, right? But there are specific walking patterns that you need to learn in order to use those crutches safely. Okay. Because again, they're not tucked up underneath your armpit and your axilla, right? So you're kind of out there. So you have to have good strength. You have to have a certain amount of balance and coordination. And again, learning the proper gait pattern to use with those crutches, right? Because you're using 2 crutches plus 2 legs. So, you know, it can get a little sticky sometimes. So that's where your neighborhood friendly physical therapist comes into play to teach you how to use that. Let's see. Beth says, left BK who has graduated from 2 cuff crutches or loft strand crutches. There's so many different names for that, to 1, how to go up and down curbs. So Beth, that's a really good one. So if you're down to 1 crutch, right? If you're a left BK, it's been a long day, so bear with me, folks. You're going to use the crutch ideally on your right side. So if you're only using a one-held device, whether it's a one-handed crutch or a cane, you would traditionally use it on the opposite side of the prosthesis, right? A lot of people think you use it on the same side. No, you use it on the opposite side of the prosthesis to give the prosthesis the most support. When you're going up and down a curb or a step, the popular saying in physical therapy is up with the good, down with the bad. And some of you might be going, yep, I remember hearing that from my physical therapist. Or in the beginning, I used to say, you know, the good ones go to heaven, the bad ones go to hell, right? So it sticks in the person's brain. So when you're going up the step, okay, you're going to go up with the good leg, the stronger leg. So in the case of Beth, who's a left-sided BK, Beth, you're going to go up with your right side. And then as you're lifting yourself up with that right leg, okay, you're going to bring the crutch and your left leg at the same time. Hope that makes sense. Okay, you might have to pause, rewind, and go. Again, guys, and this is one of those things that I work a lot with this skill in my physical therapy treatments with my patients, going up and down curbs, going up and down steps, because I mean, they're everywhere in the community, right? And you need to be comfortable managing these things as independently as possible with whatever it is that you're using, whether you're using a cane or a crutch or a walker, and to be able to move around, right? To go down the curb, Beth, okay, you're going to go down with your prosthesis and your cane at the same time. And you're going to lower yourself down that curb using your right leg, which is your stronger leg, okay? So that's the basic. I need to do a video on that because honestly, that's a really messy one to explain. I need to just do a video of that one. All right, let's see what else we got going on. Oh, guys, so I'm going to make my announcement now about my special. Okay, hang on. I got to get this microphone. It's just getting in my way. Okay, so how many? Okay, let's see. Okay, so in November, I launched, hold that thought. All right. Okay, so I launched the Cosi Talks Strong Body Program. What that is 150 exercise videos that I adapted for above the knee and below the knee amputees for arm, leg, core strengthening, flexibility, and balance. And many of you here have signed up already for that subscription and have been using it for quite some time now, okay? So guys, with this online video subscription, you have access to all 150 videos. Within those videos, I also have other instructional videos on how to approach strengthening, how to determine where you are at with your strengthening, with which phases that you use. Are you a beginner, intermediate, and advanced? And that's how I have all the exercises organized. To go along with it, I published 2 books, an above the knee book and a below the knee book. And these have been flying off the shelves lately. So for every video, exercise video that I have on that website, which I just put the link for right there, there's an accompanying entry in the book. Okay, so ideally you're meant to use the exercise videos and the book. I think I like to, use both of them with my patients because I find that it just kind of sinks in a little bit better when they can watch the video and then also when they can read about the exercise in the book. So this, because it's May, there's a lot of reasons why this month is special for me. And I do want to honor this month for many reasons. So I'm going to be running this special until the end of May, until May 31st. Okay, here's the special. When baloney book. Brett, you're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. When you sign up for the annual subscription, right, and you have to purchase the annual subscription up front, you'll actually get a discount when you do that instead of paying it in monthly installments. So when you buy the annual subscription, I'm going to send you the book for free. Let me repeat that. Okay. When you buy the annual subscription, okay, and I'm putting it in right again so that y'all can go ahead and right click on it. When you buy the annual subscription and you pay the annual subscription up front, I'm going to send you the book for free. Okay. Now, there are some of you, because I got a late start, there are some of you who bought a subscription this month. So those of you who bought a subscription in the month of May, I'm going to refund you the book, or I'm going to send you the book. Some of you bought both, so I'm going to refund you the book. Yes, Liz. So I will be refunding you the cost of the book because you just bought your subscription in May. Okay. So if you bought your subscription in May, I will be refunding you the book, or I will be sending you the book for free. Okay. Sounds good? Now, this is what you have to do, guys. When you buy the subscription, send me your address to this address. Okay. That way I know where to send the book to. Does that make sense? And I know it's a little bit messy, but we were having some trouble coordinating things on the website for this special, but I didn't want to let the month go by without putting this special out there. Okay. So guys, I'm going to repeat it one more time. If you buy the annual subscription, okay, you have to pay it up front, right? And it's actually worth it to do it that way because you even get a better discount. I will send you this book, which is worth $49.95, $50 for free. Jess? All right, awesome. Okay, guys, let's move on. I was so excited to do that. I've never done a special with this program yet, so I was so happy to be able to do that. All right, guys, here we go. This one says, how long after an amputation could one return to work in an office environment? I was like, I haven't gotten this question in a really, really, really long time. So the way the typical, rule of thumb is usually by the 6-week mark, the surgeon will take a look. That's when you go in for one of your post-op visits. Surgeon will take a look to see how you're healing. And if you're healing well, then they go ahead and clear you for the prosthetic fitting, right? So when I worked home health, that's when I would see a lot of these patients is right around that 6-week mark. And as a physical therapist, I would say, okay, if your doctor has cleared you to go back to work from the surgical standpoint, then what I need to do is make sure that you are stable enough to go to work. So then the next question is, well, what are your responsibilities at work? Do you have a desk job where you're sitting for most of your day? Do you work as a contractor where you're up and walking around? Are you a teacher where you're standing and sitting and standing and sitting and doing all sorts of crazy stuff throughout your day? And then seeing how you can fit and do that. From a surgical standpoint, usually by the 6-week mark, if you have not had any complications with wound healing, your medical status is nice and steady, most of you would be able to return to work. Okay. And yes, Patrick, it depends on the work. So for me, the other thing I also take into account is in the work environment, how can they structure rest periods? Okay, so even though you're 6 weeks out and your wound might be healed, the soft tissues inside your residual limb are still going to be remodeling, still going to be healing, still going to be a lot swollen, right? So if you're someone, for example, who works at the office and has a desk job, is there a way that you can sit and make sure that your limb is elevated just a little bit? Is there a way to make sure that every 15 minutes you're standing up, right? You're stretching out those hip flexors and you're not just staying in that sitting position for a long period of time. Okay. And then the opposite for someone who's up and down all day, somebody who's a teacher, somebody who's a contractor, do they have a place that they can go and rest for just a few minutes periodically throughout the day? Right. So a lot of these things come into question. Michelle, if you bought your annual subscription in the month of May, then I will send you a book. Here's what I want you to do, Michelle. I want you to email me there. Okay. And we'll look up your email to confirm that you bought the subscription in the month of May. So this special is only for the month of May, guys. Okay. So if you bought your subscription in the month of May, I will send you the book for free. Sounds good? All right, moving on. This one is, okay. And actually, Andrea, if you're still on board, I'm going to pull you in for this question. So Yes, where's the office? Thank you. Oh gosh, Patrick, I almost forgot that part. Thank you for reminding me. So where's the office located? Are you on the second floor with no elevator? Yeesh. Are you in an elevator, in which case you need to teach the person how to safely get into the elevator without the doors closing in on them and knocking them over? Are you having to park on a busy street and then walk to your job? Do you take some sort of public transportation to get to work? So yes, all of these things need to be taken into consideration in returning to work. Okay. All right. So let's go. So Andrea, I hope you're still on board for help me out with this one. This one is my mother-in-law is 74 and is an above the knee amputee. She lost her leg 20 years ago, major back surgery. She's had a very hard time and she's using the walker since her surgery, and she has arthritis and shoulders. So her liner is very difficult for her to put on. It is a silicone liner. Tuesday, she got a new socket and it fits better. Hey, oh, thank you, Andrea. So guys, we run into this problem a lot. As an above the knee amputee, it's usually already quite challenging to put a liner on because you have all that soft tissue in the thigh muscles, right? So, and they're all kind of just moving around, right? Thank you guys. Y'all are reminding me all the stuff that I'm forgetting today. I'm having some serious mom brain this evening. So Andrea reminded me that also when it comes to using the bathroom at your work, do you have an accessible bathroom, right? Do you have bars in those bathrooms? How far is the bathroom from wherever it is that you spend most of your day, right? Good points. Thank you for reminding me of that. So as far as like how to get a liner on, so again, a lot of times, especially my older folks, they don't have that grip strength to really get that liner and pull it up. And it's already kind of difficult. I know with some of my folks, I teach them to use the palm of their hand and just to kind of like scoot the liner up because they seem to be able to grip it better and just get a little bit more strength to roll up that silicone liner. A lot of times if my older folks are in this condition, usually they have some form of caregiver that's helping them with this part of it. So a lot of the work is done with the caregiver to teach them how to do this. Do you need a nap? Perhaps no employer wants to give naps. No. And I have 4 little employers and they never let me have a nap. So I can tell you right now, that's not going to work. So, Andrea, I'd love to hear your opinion on this one and what tips and tricks that you teach your patients who are having problems with fine motor control in terms of how they can don that liner, silicone liner, a little bit easier. Okay, so let me see. Hang on, guys. Okay, so while I wait for Andrea to put in her wisdom, I'm going to go ahead and answer Leanne's question. Leanne says, as a bilateral below elbow amputee and bilateral BK for the 6-minute walk, how many steps would be a good goal in your opinion? Leanne, I'll be super, super honest. I have those values. I have what I call my cheat sheets. So when I'm doing my functional tests, right, I have the little numbers and the parameters for what each person should be walking. Typically for the 6-minute walk test, it's also done by age. I do have one set of parameters, but it's really not terribly accurate that they did for amputees, but they don't really specify above the knee, below the knee, unilateral or bilateral amputee. But Leanne, can you send me an email and nudge me to get those numbers for you? I have them just in my files. It's one of those just like parameters that you look up after you give the person the test. For me, Leanne, when I'm giving the 6-minute walk test, it's not just about how many steps they took, again, because we don't really have very accurate standardized norms for amputees with the 6-minute walk test. Oftentimes I'll do the 2-minute walk test because what I'm looking to see is the quality of their walking. And that's what I'll also document. So if the person didn't perhaps get a lot of distance in those 2 minutes or 6-minute walk tests, I'll document the quality of how they walked. And I might say the person was able to walk or ambulate, 150 feet continuously without rest. Or the person was able to ambulate 80 feet times 3, taking a 5-second standing rest, and just describe what they're doing, and also describing the quality of their gait. Because again, we don't have those standardized norms for someone who's a bilateral upper extremity and bilateral lower extremity amputee, right? Not yet anyways. So Susan asks, would a Revo fit work for how to don it easier? So what Susan is referring to is the adjustable socket made called the Revo Fit, made by Click Medical. So here's a couple of examples where you have the panels, right, that are adjustable, and the person twists the BOA dial to tighten or loosen the panels. So Susan, in this case, it wouldn't apply because even if you use the Revo Fit, you're still having to put on a liner, right? You may not have to put on socks, which would be very beneficial. And yes, it would help the person because it's one less thing that they have to put on. But the individual still has to be able to put on a liner to use that Revo Fit, to use any socket at this point. Let's see. Marianne says, when I need a bathroom without bars, I've learned to put my walker backwards over the toilet seat and to push myself back up. Yep. Let's see. Ooh, there we go. Thank you, Andrea. She says, tough one without seeing it. I know. Would they have more grip with medical gloves on? Make sure the hands are dry and no lotion. Sometimes sitting makes it hard. I had someone lie down and stick limb in the air. Funky, but it worked for them. And it's absolutely true, guys. When it comes to, like, especially I remember working in the spinal cord injury unit early in my career, and I was having to work with quadriplegics and paraplegics. Often, especially with the quadriplegics, they have impaired motor control with their hands, right? So teaching them, how do they put their clothes on, right? When they can't, where they're having very difficult or little use of their hands. So experimenting with things like that. So what Andrea said, the thing with the medical gloves goes along also with the palmar grip of what I mentioned. Sometimes I find that patients can grip a little bit better using the palm of their hand and scooting it up again, or lying down. I did have one patient, Andrea, that you're right. I'm thinking of this one patient right now. Poor guy, he could not, we practice and practice and practice, and sitting in the wheelchair, he simply could not don that liner. And it was a long liner. We couldn't trim it, couldn't get it on. But if I put him on the plinth and had him lie on his back, popped it on and no problem at all. So he just adjusted his lifestyle, in terms of getting himself ready in the morning to accommodate for that, right? Let's see. Michelle says, do you suggest doing physical therapy on our own and maybe use your book if we don't have quality PT near us? So Michelle, this book is not meant to be physical therapy. And I need to clarify that. It is a fitness program that happens to be written by a physical therapist, right? So yes, a lot of these exercises pretty much all these exercises are ones that I use for my patients. But in the context of physical therapy, I am prescribing these exercises for my patients because I've done an evaluation to see where their deficits are. For someone like yourself, what I highly, highly, highly recommend is that you take this book and you take it to your physical therapist. I've had several of you who bought 2 copies of the book, one for yourself and one for your physical therapist. Any licensed physical therapist can open this book and start putting together a plan of care for you. Okay. And the reason I say that with confidence is because when I first started out, we didn't have books like this, but these were the kind of exercises that we used with our beginner therapists. We would just tell them, this is how you evaluate the patient, right? The physical therapist already has those skills, right? It's in adapting the exercises and learning about the prosthetic componentry. So Michelle, and I've had this happen a lot, guys. Those of you who find PTs out there that are super gung-ho to help you out, but they don't necessarily have amputee experience, they just need a resource tool. And on top of that, Michelle, I'm very sincere when I say give them my email address, and I am happy to work with a fellow PT to help them develop a plan of care. Okay. So doing your physical therapy on your own, no, I'm sorry. That's something that you really do need the physical therapist, the clinician to help you out with, right? But in terms of using this as an adjunct to your therapy, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, good, Leanne, thank you. Okay. Susan, can you clarify that last statement? When I out my liner on, it hurts my residual limb. Can you just clarify? I think you just put a misspell in there somewhere and I'm not understanding the question. Hey, Liz from California, welcome aboard. Yes, Andrea says the diabetic and dialysis combo patients have the worst time with liners. And actually, the gentleman that I was just mentioning who had to put his liner on while he was lying down, he was a dialysis and diabetic. And again, a lot of it is because of the neuropathy that they develop in their fingers, the weakness that they develop in their hands, and also just from deconditioning, general deconditioning and weakness that will set in. So it can be, quite the challenge. Yeah, Michelle, unfortunately, there's not many. We're starting to multiply a little bit more the specialists and those of us who work with amputees. And those of us who do work in the field, we do try to help each other out, and we do try to help those who are new to the field and trying to learn how to do it as well. But yes, I would say, Michelle, and I can honestly say there's not a lot of resources out there for physical therapists. It's growing, but there's not a lot. So this is my little pebble that I'm throwing into the pond in that regard. The book is just $49.95, Joe. Thank you, Patrick. Let's see. Oh, okay. So Susan says, when I put my liner on, it hurts my limb. So yeah, that's something definitely to ask your prosthetist about, Susan. If it's too tight, that's, oftentimes I see that happening, that sometimes the prosthetist will order a size that's just a wee bit too snug, in the hopes that it'll stretch out a little bit over time, but it's just a little too tight. So I would say if it's hurting, you need to go talk to your prosthetist about that. For me, pain is not something that you should be associating with wearing a prosthesis ever. Little discomfort here and there, especially after the end of a long day or when you're first learning to use your prosthesis. Yes, things are going to be uncomfortable, but painful, no. If your pain is your body telling you that something ain't right? Whether it's something inside of your body or something inside of the prosthesis itself. And that's something that you need to get checked out. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Michelle. No, Leanne, I am so bummed. I am not going to be able to make the Amputee Coalition conference. I was going to go. And then it falls on the days that all of my 4 children, I have 4 children, guys, I'm crazy, start school. And one of my kids is starting her first day at high school. And like those of you who are parents, that that's a glass ball moment. You can't miss that, right? So I've been there every single day for the first day of school of all of my children. And I can't miss that. So, but yeah, I'm bummed to be missing, because I really enjoy going to the Amputee National Conference. I really do. Yeah, I'm going to have some major FOMO on that one. Oh, here's a good one. This one was, this question came in. This also came from the person who was having trouble with their mother-in-law putting on the liner. Is there anything easy to put on in terms of a lighter leg, prosthetic leg? And apparently this particular individual uses a C leg. So, it's one of those things. And guys, I'm just kind of going off of memory right now. So I'm probably going to miss a leg here and there. In general, okay, in terms of how much legs weigh, right? So the Rio by Oser, it's about 3.5 pounds, right? This 1.6 kilograms. The C leg, okay, by Ottobock is about 2.8 pounds, right? And the Plie 3 from Freedom Innovations, I believe, is 2.8. And again, guys, these are I'm just trying to pick out from the memory banks right now. So look these weights up. If you guys go to the websites and go to these legs, it puts on there on the product specs, like how much these legs weigh, right? The Oser Power Knee, I think it's close to 6 pounds, but the reason is because it also has a lot of power to put into that knee. And then compared to, like, for example, a mechanical knee. So these are microprocessor knees. The mechanical knee is going to weigh less because it doesn't have all that computer componentry in there, right? So it's like, my favorite one is like the Ottobock 3R80. That one is like 2.7 pounds. 2.7. The one knee that just kind of popped in my brain in terms of microprocessor knee that they came out with, I think Ottobock came out with this in maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, I think. they came out with a knee called the Kenevo knee, and it's kind of like a microprocessor knee that's meant for the older individual that is perhaps not as active. And I believe it's classified for K2. And again, guys, any information I give you about these specific companies, you need to go back and check with the company websites. Okay, I'm going off of memory right now, and it's 9 o'clock at night on a mom, so go back and check this information. It's just specs that you just look up under the website. So here's my thing when it comes to the weight of knees. Yes, I think it's important. Yeah, there's kilograms and pounds. I think of it in terms of pounds because I'm an American and it's just easier for me, but you know, they'll put it in both. So the Autobot Kenevo one, the one that I just mentioned, it's about 2 pounds. So it's a lot lighter than some of the other microprocessor knees. And I think they did that purposely, designed it that way because it's meant for the older individual. What I have come to find is when people are saying my leg feels like it weighs too much, and this is from young people to older people, I look at the alignment, right? I look at to see is that socket fitting properly. And I said this last night on I was speaking at a support group last night, and I said, you know, your anatomical leg weighs a whole lot more than that prosthesis you're wearing. But when you had your anatomical leg, it didn't feel like it weighed, you know, that it was dragging you down because it was firmly attached, right? And that's kind of why a prosthesis feels like it weighs so much, because the attachment is never going to be as secure as the anatomical leg was, right? And your brain is going to process it as something it's having to pick up and carry. Okay, so when I hear someone talking about that, I usually try to see, okay, how is the alignment? Is the suspension on as well as it can be? Is there something going on with the suspension that we can somehow improve to make that leg not feel quite so heavy and make it feel more connected, right? The other side of it is weakness. That's usually the number one culprit, right? So it doesn't matter how light a leg you've been given. If your muscles are weak, if your glutes specifically are weak, the leg is going to feel like it weighs a ton. And I kid you not, there's sometimes where I examine that prosthesis forward and backwards and left and right and inside out, and there's nothing wrong with that prosthesis. It's made beautifully. The socket's great. The alignment's great. Suspension's great. And I test my patient and I'm just like, dude, your glutes are like nothing. That's why you're having trouble, you know, moving this leg, and there's no shortcut around it. You have to do the strengthening. And my folks who are in their older years, my 70, 80, 90-year-olds, they don't get a free pass with this either. They have to do those strengthening exercises as well, right? Michelle says, my son weighs 9 pounds. I was told it takes 9 pounds. Hang on. Oops. It takes 9 times the energy to move that prosthesis. I've never heard it used that way, Michelle, but yes, if you are a below the knee amputee, right, you're expending anywhere from 10% to 40% more energy, depending on how high your below the knee amputation is, right? If you're an above the knee amputee, you're using 60% more energy. Yeah. So you got to be in rocket star shape, right, guys? And it sounds a little daunting, and you know, but the way I see it is this is our body, right? We have to take care of it. We have to keep it up, do the upkeep, and this is whether you have 1 leg, 2 legs, no legs, right? In order to keep our mobility and keep moving, right? There's no shortcut around it. No shortcut. Let's see. Lisa says, I ran into an issue with my liner, needed a new one because it was falling apart. Manufacturer won't honor the warranty because I didn't buy 2 at the time when I bought the last one. They stated that your liner should have lasted longer if you had a second one, switching them out every couple of days. So if you have an order new liner, better get 2. Yeah, and it was interesting. Ronnie Dixon was on my show last week, and we talked all about liners, right? So with the liners, you know, washing your liner once a day, once every 24 hours, that liner should be going into the shower with you and getting a good cleaning, right? And it takes time for those liners to dry, right? Especially with the ones that have the cloth covering, that little thin cloth covering on the outside, that can take time to dry. And I don't want people putting on a wet liner in the morning. So for me, that's the practicality of having that second liner available. Whether it extends the life of it or not, I mean, on average, you'll get 2 liners a year. So whether you use 2 liners the whole 12 months, or you use 1 liner for 6 months, 1 liner for the next 6 months. It just kind of all goes together in that regard. But for me, it's more from a hygienic standpoint that you just want to have one clean and one that you're wearing and one that's drying kind of thing. All right. What page in the BK book for the glutes workout? All right. So Bill, I'm hoping this means that you have my book. Yes. So the above the knee, I only have my above the knee, the below. No, wait, this is below the knee. It's my below the knee book. The above the knee book and the below the knee book are set up the same way. You're going to start off with the introduction, and that's where I tell you about how to use the book and all that kind of fun stuff. Then we have the arms section, and you can kind of see it here. I've got it all labeled right here. After the arms, we have the legs. That's where you're going to find the glute workouts, the majority of the glute workouts. And the legs, and the same thing for every part, are divided into, sorry guys, I'm not doing a very good job of showing this, am I? So you're going to find legs and then phase 1, right? So it goes phase 1, phase 2, and then phase 3 exercises, right? So obviously the phase 1 are for the beginners, phase 2 are for more advanced. So those of you who are using this book, and I say it in this book, guys, take your time to read the intros to the chapters because I do give a lot of information in that book. Go by where you're at right now. And I know that sounds like, well, duh. But I think some people are just like, well, I've been an amputee for several years, so that must mean I'm a phase 3. Not the case. Okay, so for example, my runner, one of my runners that I've been doing some videos on, nice, fit young man. He's got phase 3 with his arms. He's got a really nice, strong arms. He's got a good, strong core. So we're doing phase 3 with his core. But his residual limb, we're still working on phase 1 exercises, right? So you might find that you're having to piece together different body parts that way. I myself, I'm a runner myself. I use the exercises on this program, even though I'm not an amputee. I use these exercises. And for me, guys, I am a phase 3 for legs, but for arms, I'm like a phase 1 or 2. I'm in between the 2 of those. Okay. And my core, I'm a phase 2. All right. So Mark, you're joining us from your cruise. I feel so special. I feel so special, Mark. All right. So Mark, actually, I have a question for you, Mark, because you're my expert scuba diver. We have a gentleman who is on here, Philip. Hopefully he's still on board, Phil. I'm getting to your question now. Has anyone done scuba diving with a wetsuit? So of course I immediately thought of Mark, who's my expert scuba diver. And yes, a lot of people do the scuba diving. I know sometimes it can be a little tricky donning that suit, especially if it doesn't have any adaptive zippers in the seam line. And that's something I recommend for people who go scuba diving, and that's a passion for theirs, to have a zipper put into the seam of the leg of the suit just to make it easy to take it on and off. Okay, Bill, well, you got to get that book from your locker, man. It's not going to do you any good there. All right. And guys, I have one. Okay, one last question. 2 questions. You guys with me for another 2 questions? I know we're running a little long this evening, but you guys got some good questions here. Ooh, here's a good one. Y'all want to see a little bit of that strong body program because it belongs to this question. This person says, I'm not feeling the strength in my little leg side of glutes getting any stronger or even holding it for 10 seconds at a time. I'm assuming that might be normal for me. Is there anything I can do to help? Dive Pirates. Thank you, Andrea. All right, guys. So do you guys want to see a little bit of that strong body program? Because I can show you some of the one of the beginning exercises for the glutes. Here we go. So guys, here's the program. All right, we're going to go to above the knee, legs, phase 1. All right. So guys, this program is set up just like the book is set up. Okay. So if you have the book, this is how your book is going to be set up as well. So guys, when it comes to the glute exercises, some of the really great beginner ones, the glute sets, this one right here, this is teaching you how to activate those glute muscles and how to wake them up. The basic bridges, again, this is a very powerful one to do. It really strengthens those glute muscles. It also starts to kick in the core muscles. Another big one, where'd it go? There's a lot in here. This one. Okay, the straight leg raise, okay, and you can see the prosthesis is facing up, right? And then the lifting up. Another very good one, especially if you have weak glutes and you're just getting started, this is a very good one to do. And you can do it with your prosthesis, and you can also do it without your prosthesis. There it is, without the prosthesis right here, okay? So there's a couple of different ways to get that started. Did that go through? Hope that went through. Okay. Patrick, what are you referring to, darling? Hey, that's my girl, Michelle. We got a lot of PTs and OTs on board this evening. All right. So guys, in the beginning exercises, and I think this individual she has the subscription to this program. So hopefully she's watching and she could see that. All right. Last question. Then I promise I'll let you guys go, but this is a good question. This question came in from Susan, and I'm going to read it from her email. It says, I had my TMR operation 5 weeks ago. I was told by my surgeon I could put my prosthesis back on. When I put it on, it was a little sore, and it seemed like all my muscles were sore, and I could just walk with my walker for now until I gain my strength. So here's my question. My surgeon told me to put my prosthesis back on, but the online amputee support group said I can't put my prosthesis back on, that I have to have a new socket because the TMR operation changes the shape of my stump. I don't know what to do. Here's the thing, guys. All due respect to the online amputee support groups, and I belong to several of them, and they are fantastic places and resources. If it's between doing what your surgeon tells you to do and doing what your support group tells you to do, the surgeon's the one that takes the priority. Okay. Now, let me kind of see what, interpret what was going on. When the surgeon says it's okay to put your prosthesis back on, what the surgeon is saying is that your wound has healed enough or healed completely so that you can start wearing the pressure of a socket on that limb. Okay. Now, here's unfortunately where the fall in the cracks moment happens. A lot of times the surgeons may not necessarily tell the patient, go back to your prosthetist to assess the fit of your socket. Okay. Just because you had TMR, targeted muscle reinnervation, does not necessarily mean that you're going to need a new socket. Okay. If you had a revision and TMR done, then yes, you're probably going to need a new socket because the limb was changed. The limb was altered in some way, shape, or form. But sometimes people just have the TMR surgery performed, meaning that little nerve gets plugged back into the muscle. And that's it. Okay. And all you have to do is wait for that swelling to go down and get used to wearing the prosthesis again. For my opinion, anybody who's had any surgery, whether it's a revision, a targeted muscle reinnervation, removal of a bone spur, once the surgeon gives you the ability to wear the prosthesis again, you need to get back to your prosthetist and have them eyeball things and check and see, and it may be that the prosthetist tells you, you know what, you just got to wait a little bit longer for that swelling to go down all the way and the fit will be just fine versus nope, landmarks have changed, soft tissue has changed position. We need to look at making you a new socket. Okay. And yeah, guys, the surgeon might give you clearance at 6 weeks, but believe me, those soft tissues are going to be healing and remodel, the swelling is going to be going down for a lot longer. Right. Hey, Liz, actually, I have PayPal set up on my website. So you can go to the website and it hooks you right up to PayPal from there. Okay, here we go. No, insurance doesn't cover sports stuff. I know. Sometime, every once in a blue moon, I'll see somebody with an insurance that covered. Actually, no, not really. Some of my VA patients, they'll have a blade covered sometimes. And that's usually a really nice thing, but not typically. Oh. All right. Hey, Eric, thanks for joining. Okay. So yeah, when you go back to the AMP clinic, Susan, just say, doctor gave me the clearance to go. Check the fit of my socket. Let me know what's going on. And it could be, Susan, that they tell you, well, let's just see what happens in the next week or two as the swelling goes down. And let's just see if we need to do that and just, kind of a wait and see how the tissues remodel. Oh, my pleasure, guys. Thank you guys for allowing me to do this show and providing the support to do this show. I really appreciate it. All right, guys, we're gonna lock it up for this evening. But I do want to say one more time, like I said, I never do specials on this program, but May is a very special month for me for several reasons. So I want to honor this month. We're going to be running the special if you buy the annual subscription for Cosi Talks. The annual subscription, pay it up front, right? You get a discount if you pay it up front anyway, so it's worth your effort to do it that way. I will send you the book for free. Okay, so check your emails. If you do end up buying the annual subscription, check the emails, and I'm going to give you information on how to get that book for free. All right, guys, I am going to let you go. Ooh, next weekend. Oh my gosh, guys, I almost forgot. Ha ha. Next week, okay, we are doing something really cool, really special, really different with the Cosi Talk show. For next Wednesday, all of y'all, I want you to get your phones, and of course, I don't have mine on me. Get your cell phones and set your phone alarms. Next Wednesday, May 18th, I'm going to go live at 8:30 a.m. You're like, Cosi, you're crazy. So guys, bring your coffee cup. I am going to have College Park Industries on board with Zach Gowen. He is an WWE amputee wrestler. He's an American Ninja Warrior, and he is a yoga master. So he is going to come with me to the local Lululemon store. We're going to be doing some really nice giveaways on this one, guys. And Zach is going to be there teaching how to do adaptive yoga. He's an above-the-knee amputee himself. He's going to be teaching me how to do yoga, which I've never done yoga before, so y'all are going to have a good old laugh on that one. But you're going to have to wake up a little bit early for that one. 8:30 a.m. next Wednesday, not 8:30 p.m. Next Wednesday, it's 8:30 a.m. So set the alarms on your phone, and I will see you there. Make sure you guys bring coffee because I'm going to need it. All right, guys. That being said, have a great evening. Thank you for letting me be a part of your lives, and we'll see you next week. Different bat time, but same bat channel.